Hey guys, this is John and I'm playing CrossShark in the 5-minute pool on ICC. CrossShark opens with e4 and let's play a modern. We'll go with g6. Always flexible. We'll play c6 followed by d5, try to take over the center. Alright, let's take and then play knight d7, preparing knight gf6, looking to trade off that knight. Plays h3, probably to prevent bishop g4. Then plays knight g3. Okay. So white may be playing to cramp us, but I can fianchetto my bishop if I like, b6, bishop b7, etc. In fact, I think I will. White will probably take over the center with c4 and then maybe bishop f4, but we'll have a solid position to work with. Okay, so they're putting the pawn on c3, so this makes me think I should go for c5 directly, because I want to achieve this pawn break anyways to get the light square bishop out. It would have been more difficult had they played c4, because in the case of c4, had I played c5, they could play d5. So I feel better about this version of events. Okay, a4, so maybe looking to play a5 and weaken my position. I could play a6. I could also take and then play something like e5 or knight c5. Queen c7 is flexible too. Although on queen c7, I think a5 is coming. So I'm going to play a6. Just so that if a5 is played, I can play b5, advance past. Because white may play a5 as a pawn sacrifice, just let me play b takes a5 and then go after it with something like queen a4, so I have to be on the alert for that. Now queen c7 looks okay. I think my position's acceptable. I don't see anything devastating white can do, and there's some tension in the center, but it doesn't look like white will be able to resolve it in a good way. b4 surprises me a lot, because I can take on b4 and white will have an isolated d-pawn. Maybe knight d5 then? Or knight d5 straight away. Maybe knight d5 straight away is even stronger. Let's do that first. Just going for maximum flexibility. Attacking this pawn. White can play either queen d2 or rook c1 if they want to defend it. They're going to play bishop back to d2. All right. So I could take b4. I could even advance c4. Let's take b4, though. I think this is best. And then I have options like knight c3, although that could run into rook c1. Queen d6 is also just a smart idea. Let's play queen d... Well, knight e4 is coming then. Okay, I'm going to play this move. So if rook c1, I can play queen b8. And I'll still have a presence down the c-file, but my queen will be safe. I almost played queen d6, but they had knight e4 to harass my queen in that case. I like this setup I have. I think I'm going to have good play against d4 and also b4. White's minor pieces don't look incredibly menacing. a5. So I think he's trying to get the c5 square for his knight, so he's planning like knight e4 to c5. At the same time, knight c3 is allowed. Bishop takes, queen takes, a takes b6, queen takes b4. He can take a6 in that case. I'm probably a bit better after all is said and done there. If b5, knight e4, I don't like that position so much, so I'm going to do this. Yeah, and just look to swap my knight for that dark square bishop and try to get at the b4 pawn. Very simply. Again, he ignores it. So I can take, and then take on f3 if I want. Kind of devastating their pawns. And then bishop takes d4 at the end of that line. That seems to win a pawn. Ooh, and I'd be threatening queen takes g3. Aha. Okay, well, let's take here. He might take with the knight, actually. Taking with the knight seems better, but he takes that way. So now if I take, he can take with the queen, but then still bishop takes d4. All right, so let's do this. Yeah, if pawn takes, then bishop takes d4 has the threat of queen takes g3 as well. So I would expect queen takes, and he does play that. Okay, so let's take here. Rook d1. Maybe rook e8. Rook e8 looks all right. This bishop is loose, though, on d4, so I gotta be aware of that. Maybe something like queen c2 would have been better. I don't know. Attacking that rook. My pieces are a bit loose, I'm not going to lie. Queen c4 now. Defending and attacking. I don't want to get too low on time. He's got a 2-to-1 time advantage. And I'm up a pawn, but the position could be precarious. I've got some loose pieces. Tricky player, this CrossShark. So maybe I can get e5 in. If I get a chance, just take this way. Yeah, let's do that. So regain the pawn. If rook e4, e5, bishop takes e5, rook takes, he can take d4 at the end. So maybe rook d8 is better in this case. But then he has bishop e5. I can take f2, though. I don't know how that's working out. That's complicated. E5 bishop takes is the issue, though. Okay, I'm going to try this. And I'm hoping that on bishop e5, bishop takes f2 check is working. It might.
Check.
At any rate, I got to go for it because my time is ticking down. And I know he can play... Well, king h2, I can take g3, though. Bishop takes g3 check. So this is a nice shot. If he takes with the king, I have queen c2. I saw that. So, yeah, I would expect king h2, because I think he wants to get his king off the back rank. And like I said, at the very least, I can take on g3 then, which is nice. There's also queen c2. Maybe queen c2 is better. Queen c2 could create more problems for him in the short term. Bishop takes, queen takes e4. I don't like that as much. Okay, let's go here. So I'm going to keep the tension for a moment. I know he can take d8. But then I'll just take back. Okay, he's going to do that instead. All right, so we got to take here. And now maybe f5. To stop queen takes f7. We're up 2 pawns, but this is going to be tough with 42 seconds left. I guarantee you that. King is a bit open. Let's go knight d5. Let's try to get this piece back in the action. Maybe f4 to try to stuff the bishop. Or just knight f6 to e4, something like that. Knight c3, is that working? No. Okay, let's do this. Try to get the knight to e4. Knight c3, he had rook c2, so that wasn't looking good. Just trying to stay active with my 32 seconds. The position's great. I'm pretty sure I'm winning. Ooh, he drops this. This queen h6, I have knight f6. Okay, so let's just drop this back. To start, queen d2 maybe coming. Let's look for a trade. Ah, that was a blunder, though. He can take and then take on f6. Okay, here.
Time warning.
Oh, he found that move. Oh, that's annoying. I missed that. I think I'm losing now. Yeah, I missed that. He's just taking on e8 next. Time got the better of me there. That was too bad. Yeah, it would have been tough with the amount of time I had, but yeah, it's a shame that after rook e3 I just blundered. Thing is, he's not threatening anything in this position, because as long as I keep this rook on d8, bishop takes f6 can always be met by e takes f6. But yeah, I just played an active move that happens to lose. Rook d3 take, and he's threatening mate on g7. And if I play e takes f6, then rook takes e8 check, king f8, king f7, and then queen f8 is checkmate. All right, let's go back and take a look at it. So we played a modern and advanced c6 and d5. So knight d7, knight gf6. This is a sturdy way for black to continue. I do think here, since he's withdrawn the knight to g3 and otherwise hasn't played much in the center. I think if he wants to play for an advantage, he should play c4, and then after bishop b7, intend to meet c5 with d5 at all times, basically. Maybe I can do something like, say, if bishop f4, maybe I can play e6 so as to prepare c5, so that if he does play e5, d5, I can just take it. But I feel like c4 would have been more testing. c3 or rook e1 and then c3 as he played looked restrained, and I think around here black's position is already fine. Let's just see what the engine thinks. Yeah, roughly equal. So a4, I played a6. Maybe a6 isn't necessary, but I just liked being able to meet a5 with b5 at all times. Because let's say I play queen c7, I think he is going to come with a5. And should I ever take this pawn, then I'm weakening my structure. Something like this could be a concern. So a6, bishop e3, queen c7. I didn't like b4 for him. I thought that was a slight mistake. The computer also seems to think so. Yeah, maybe he should just prefer something like queen d2, connect the rooks, and play from there. Because b4, now I can play knight d5, attacking the bishop and also the pawn on c3, and then take. And I like the fact that he had a weak pawn on d4 and also a potentially weak b pawn. The engine says I should play c4 instead, so close the position. Yeah, I considered that for a second. I like my knight on d5. It's solidly entrenched on this square, and also his bishop will have to keep an eye on c3 for the time being. It seems to me, though, that taking is more direct, although the engine clearly prefers c4, keeping it closed. Thing is, I think from here, if I were to try to open the position, it would be with e5 sooner or later, because I have a 4-3 pawn majority in the center and on the king side, but I've closed down this wing. So it's not immediately apparent to me how I would capitalize on my slight advantage. I'd have to prepare some pawn break somewhere, probably with e5 eventually. But instead I took and then played rook ac8. I think this is fine. He played a5. Okay, so here b5 is the recommended move, but I thought he could just do this in this case and try to come into c5. I have a tactic in that case. Knight takes b4, discovered attack on the knight. Bishop takes b4, bishop takes e4, bishop takes e7, rook fe8, and black is better. Again, this weak d-pawn persists. Okay, I'll go with that. So I played knight c3 instead. Yeah, b5 does look better. Because if knight e4 to c5 is not a threat, then yes, I agree that b5 is preferable, fixing this pawn on a weak square. So instead I did this. Yeah, and again, queen b3 was a surprising move. I thought he would just take. I was looking at a line, take, and then here. And I was trying to assess, I think I was looking at knight takes b6, bishop takes a6, bishop takes, rook takes, queen takes b4. And I thought this was slightly better for black, even though we've exchanged a bunch of pieces, because white still has this weak d-pawn. And note that I'm defending e7 with my queen, so he can't play rook takes e7. But instead he played queen b3, check. And then I started doing some trades. I took on f3, took on d4, hitting the rook. Yeah, this would have been a cute line if he had taken with the g-pawn. Then this is just crushing, because not only am I attacking the rook, but also this is a threat in view of the pinned f-pawn. Well, I also mentioned that maybe he should take with the knight. I thought this could be better to defend d4, although I think black's position is still nice with the two bishops. But as played, I feel like I should consolidate this pawn. Here, rook fe8 was not so accurate. Knight e5 is better. I saw knight e5, but I didn't want to cut off my bishop's retreat. At least that was my thinking. But this does hit the queen, and after queen e4, rook fd8, the computer likes black and that extra pawn. Bishop f4, and a familiar tactic, bishop takes f2 check. King takes f2, rook takes d1, bishop takes e5, queen d8. And despite white having two minor pieces for the rook, the engine still likes black with the rook plus two pawns and an exposed white king. So on rook f e8, he played bishop f4. Yeah, I burned a lot of time right around here. This was the annoying thing. And actually, the engine thinks that white has good compensation for the pawn. Rook ed2, piling up on the d file. If I move the bishop, I would lose the knight on d7, so I'd have to play e5 instead. And now bishop e3, and it looks like white will win the pawn back with advantage. Or maybe not. What if bishop takes? Queen takes e3. Ah, okay, yeah, he will win the pawn back because I have to move this knight and then b6 falls. Also, I have some other weaknesses, like the f6 square is weak. If ever he gets knight e4 in, that could be a problem. White's well coordinated. So rook ed2 would have been strong for him here. Instead, I took with the knight. Rook e4. Okay, so here the engine is not saying the move that I played in the game, rook cd8. I saw e5, but I thought on e5 he would just play bishop takes e5, so I didn't like that. Somehow this position just looked very easy to play and good for white. So I did this. Oh, wow, knight f5. Knight f5 was killer. Huh. So if I take queen g3 check, king to the corner, and I'm assuming this, or rook d takes, is killer. Yeah, because if black recaptures, there's bishop e5 check. And that's going to be mate, in fact. I have to play f6, and he just takes here. E takes f6, rook takes e8. Checkmate coming.
Checkmate.
Yeah, so this was precarious, even after winning the d-pawn. I think it started with rook f e8. Knight e5 would have been much better. As played, though, I managed to get out of this mess thanks to this bishop takes f2 move, which seems to work. Yeah, bishop e5, bishop takes f2. Now he played king h2. The computer recommends king takes f2. Why would king takes f2 be good, though? Can't I play queen c2 check? Let me think about this for a moment. Because I thought king takes f2 would just be refuted by queen c2. Ah, he has king e1. That must be why. Yeah, I think we both missed that. King takes f2, queen c2 check, king e1. And he has another defender on d1. I could play rook takes d1 check, queen takes d1, queen takes g2 then, but do I have enough for the piece? Probably not. So let's see that line. King takes, check, king e1, rook takes, queen takes g2, so this is best. But now queen d4, centralizing and attacking the knight. And the engine has white ahead. Even though black has 3 pawns for the piece, white's coordination is better. So instead, though, he played king h2, which was the move I was expecting. So, yeah, safe to say neither of us saw that king takes followed by king e1 was possible. Oh, and note that if queen takes f2, there's rook takes d1 check. That's the whole point of this for black. So he went here. Maybe I got fancy. Maybe I should just take on g3 straight away, but I played this. Yes, I definitely got fancy, because apparently knight f5 was killing me right here. Yeah, that knight f5 move is a theme, because here, if I take on d1, let's just say I play rook takes d1, I'm getting mated in 2. Knight h6, I can't go here or here, because of the dark square bishop. So king f8,
checkmate.
Queen takes f7, checkmate. And also, if I take this knight after knight f5, I think rook g4 is going to win. Oh, no, not rook g4, because rook g4 I can take and then block with the queen. And I do not get mated on g7. But instead, just queen takes f5. And despite the material deficit, white is winning because my king is so barren. With the immediate threat being queen g5, queen g7. Or rook g4. Yeah, he's +6. Okay. Yeah, so knight f5 was possible. Therefore, I should eliminate the knight with check immediately. Bishop takes g3 check.
Check.
So he played rook f1. I took, and now I'm up 2 pawns. I had a bad feeling about this, though, with 40-some seconds and white being able to create some annoying threats. Like, in a tournament game, I'd be breathing a really big sigh of relief right now because I avoided getting checkmated, and I have 2 extra pawns. My king is a little drafty, but on the whole, I think I should be able to consolidate for sure. Yeah, it was just too tricky. Yeah, and here he dropped the rook, but he still managed to win. I dropped the knight back, and he kind of went for the only thing he possibly could here with queen to h6, trying to get close to my king and create threats. Because at least now I can't move this knight to, I don't know, like e4 or something, because I get mated. I played queen d2 thinking it would force a queen trade, but rook e3 was nice, and then I totally blundered with my next move, rook d3. That deserves 3 or more question marks. Yeah, so I think any reasonable move is going to win for black. The computer likes knight h5. Not sure if knight h5 really threatens much. Oh, maybe knight h5 is threatening rook d3 now that g7 has been covered. Yeah, knight h5 is constructive. Note that white can't play g4 to kick the knight because he's pinned. So yeah, knight h5 was good here. But definitely not rook d3. Rook d3 immediately ends the game, and not in my favor. Yeah, bishop takes f6, threatening mate, and as I described, if I take this guy, then
Check.
it's mate in 2.
Checkmate.
So a back-and-forth game where that extra time for white turned out to be my undoing, my own time pressure. It's interesting that on bishop takes f2, we both overlooked that king takes followed by king e1 was possible. Fun game nonetheless with all the tactics. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll be back soon with another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.